When a new piece of media revolving around a popular franchise releases, you bet there'll be merchandise, whether it's pop culture icons like Star Wars or Marvel, or well-known media like Doctor Who or Mavity Falls. There's gonna be merchandise of some sort produced at some point. And Epic Mickey is no exception. Throughout all points in Epic Mickey's history, different bits and pieces of tie-in products were produced, including notable items like the collector's editions, which I've already covered in other videos. But the next notable would have to be the different accessories for gaming consoles, most predominantly the Wii. There were themed controllers and accessories released for both Epic Mickey games. Since the main tool used in the first game is a magical paintbrush, of course that's all we got as a controller. A special nunchuck controller was released that took the shape of the paintbrush, and it's pretty standard, aside from the different shape, leading to the position of the buttons being slightly different. I've had one of these for a couple of years now, and it did take a little bit of getting used to, but after you get used to it, it's a solid controller. An updated version was released with Epic Mickey 2, with a tip that lit up with either a blue or green light when you used paint or thinner in the Epic Mickey games. Oh, and the joystick and buttons are black instead of white. The other brush-themed accessory released with the original Epic Mickey is a paintbrush and thinner protection pack. This turned the main Wii remote into the brush, along with a protective casing for the nunchuck, which just had a big generic Epic Mickey design on it. The Wii remote casing had a big plastic brush sticking out of the top, which could glow when the player pressed the B button by connecting the controller via the nunchuck port of the Wii remote. This is relatively hard to find, much like many of Epic Mickey's other merchandise, and I've only seen it for sale once online. But just in case you wanted to charge your Wii remotes without losing any of the Epic Mickey charm, your best bet would be the Blot Charger, which was sold at Toys R Us stores in America. The Wii remote would be placed in the arms of the Blot, who glares down with a small figure of Mickey. The Blot's eyes and mouth would light up as red if the remote was charging, or green if the remote was fully charged. This charger could fetch a pretty penny online for a functioning one. Out of all the Mickey merch I'm discussing in this video, this is probably the one that I want the most. It's just a cool item, and the fact that it has an actual use is a bonus. But for the price it's currently selling for, I probably won't get one for a while. With the release of Epic Mickey 2 and its addition of Oswald as a playable character, it was no wonder that Oswald's main tool, the remote, also received a nunchuck to go along with the revised brush. The remote is definitely unique in its appearance, and the designers for it definitely put accuracy ahead of usability, since I imagine its square shape being less than ideal to hold and use. It also lights up at the tip when you use Oswald's remote in-game. Due to its less than ideal design, and the fact that it took the form of Player 2's controller, the Oswald nunchuck didn't sell nearly as well as a brush controller, evident by the fact that the brush nunchucks pop up online fairly frequently, but the remote barely shows up for sale. Epic Mickey Power of Illusion was released at the same time as Epic Mickey 2, and of course we got a couple of different console accessories. A paintbrush stylus was released with either a 3DS case or a protective casing for the 3DS, both using renders from Epic Mickey 2. The only other console accessories released for Epic Mickey were skins for the Wii and Wii remotes, released with the US Collector's Edition of Epic Mickey. Now, if you walked into a Hot Topic in 2011, you might find some Epic Mickey t-shirts for sale. The most used design was definitely the Epic Mickey ear logo, and some with the iconic concept art of Mickey facing down the Blot. A couple of t-shirts featuring renders from Epic Mickey 2 were released around the same time as the game. And that was it, until 2020, when some new shirts were released by Hot Topic. The shirts themselves were mostly unremarkable, using images from both Epic Mickey games. Around the same time, a brand new Funko shirt was released, featuring the series logo and a bunch of Epic Mickey Funko Pop heads. And also a Korean website released some hoodies, which contain some brand new renders never seen before. All this happening so many years after Epic Mickey was dead and buried, started rumors that a new Epic Mickey game was in development. And look where we are now! I think the only way the shirts would be able to be linked to rebrushed is if they were released by Disney to figure out if Epic Mickey had a big enough audience to warrant a remake. Since 3 or 4 years ago would be around the right time that Purple Lamp and THQ Nordic would have approached Disney about remaking Epic Mickey. Okay, now we've covered the practical and useful items for Epic Mickey, let's take a look at the stuff only us collectors would buy in order to make it look nice on a shelf. Now, I'm sure at least 95% of people watching this knows what a Funko Pop is. They're just about everywhere that sells toys or figurines, and involve just about every franchise under the sun. Mickey Mouse has a ton of different ones, and I have a few of them, since they're pretty much everywhere. Heck, even Oswald had a couple of different ones produced for Disney 100, and of course a couple were based on the Epic Mickey series. Two based on Mickey and Oswald were released as number 64 and 65 in the Disney line of Funko Pops. Special Metallic Oswald was released for the 2013 San Diego Comic-Con, which strangely enough is after the Epic Mickey series ended. All the Pops retailed for $10.99 each, but their resale value has skyrocketed to sometimes 10 times the original amount, which I find a bit odd, since aside from the actual Epic Mickey games, the Pops are the most common Epic Mickey item to find online. I guess the secondhand Funko Pop market works in mysterious ways. For the longest time, the Epic Mickey Funko Pops was the only way to get an Oswald figure, so if you really wanted one, you either had to shell out the money for an overpriced one, make one yourself, or stalk eBay until you found one for a reasonable price. Third option is what I went for, and I eventually found one for 25 Australian dollars, which isn't too much more than what a brand new figure sells for. Recently, the Mickey figure has been listed for lower and more affordable prices, so hopefully those outrageous prices for something that really is quite common disappears. Now, if we head back to 2010, Takara Tomy Arts, a Japanese company, produced some really neat figures of Mickey and Oswald, which you could buy from capsule machines for around 300 yen, around 3 Australian dollars or 2 US. There were 3 different poses for Mickey and 1 for Oswald, which in turn could be either in colour or monochrome, making 10 unique figures to collect. They were also released in Europe for either £2 or €3, depending on where you were, for the release of Epic Mickey 2. They were also included in both of the Epic Mickey 2 collector's editions, which is how I got one. There were plenty of other bits of memorabilia. Honourable mentions include a couple of jigsaw puzzles, an Oswald key holder, a pen, and a ton of merch in the shape of the Epic Mickey logo. And that's about it. Epic Mickey wasn't exploited nearly as much as it could have been. Hopefully Epic Mickey Rebrushed gets some new merch aside from the overpriced and sold out collector's edition, even if it's just a couple of new Funko Pops. I got a new microphone, could you tell? Yeah, shout out to my dad for buying me a new microphone for my YouTube videos. It's real awesome. Yeah, so that's it for this week. Next week I will be talking about something else. And yeah, so that's 10 videos still left to do before Rebrush comes out, and I'll see you then.